You're listening to Write the Book Now interview and podcast show with host and creator Dr. Sharon H. Porter.
The Write the Book Now guest is Cynthia D.Martin. She is the founder of DC Speed Networking. She teaches you how to use powerful words to sell your products and services. She teaches her 5-step speed networking method at conferences and seminars. She is the author of Speed Networking, 5 Simple Steps to Sell Your Products and Services. This book is written for emerging entrepreneurs, small business owners, and those with side hustles. The book contains a new formula that boils down networking to its essential elements and teaches people how to instantly connect and sell their products and services while speed networking. It's an easy read that yields quick results. And now our interview with author Cynthia D.Martin. Thank you for joining Write the Book Now interview and podcast show. This is Dr. Sharon, your host and creator. I am here today with my guest, Ms. Cynthia Martin. She is the author of Speed Networking, 5 Simple Steps to Sell Your Products and Services. Welcome, Ms. Martin. How are you today?
Hi, Sharon. I am doing well.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us today. And so we've heard all of these wonderful things that you are, that you've done, that you're doing in your bio. But can you tell our listeners who Cynthia Martin really is?
Okay, that's a good question, because in my book, the first step of the Speed Networking 5 Simple Steps to Sell Your Products and Services, the first step is I am. And I say that in the book because I want people to understand who they are before they start selling a product or a service or talking to people or just getting out front. So I guess that's a great question, Sharon. Who is Cynthia Martin? I am an author. I am a sales representative for a large company. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. I'm a lot of different things. But when I think about who I am, if I take away my job title, then who am I? So that's where we start in the book. The first step is I am. So those are the things I am today, but who will I be, in 5 years? So I don't know that. But today, that's who I am.
I love it. Thank you. And you talked about the 5 steps, because that's really how you take the readers through this book, is going through the 5 steps of speed networking. And of course, I am is that first step. So let's go back and talk a little bit about, first of all, speed networking in general. We know that it takes its cue from speed dating, and we know that it's definitely catching on, especially in the D.C. area.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about the essence of speed networking?
Well, the essence of speed networking is that speed networking is creating short yet meaningful conversations that help you network effectively. I go to networking events, and I have gone for years. As a matter of fact, I used to host a networking event. Well, it was somewhat a networking event. It started out as that for 2 years straight, every first Friday, a professional networking event for women. But it ended up being a party because nobody really knew how to network. And I realized that after 2 years, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even touch upon what I wanted to do. So I revamped it. I wrote the book, Speed Networking, and now I know that speed networking is creating short yet meaningful conversations that help you network effectively. So what I've done was I studied the networking process. And then I thought, well, this needs to be changed because we're not getting anywhere. Because every time I went to a networking event, it was the same old thing. I was handing out business cards. I was collecting business cards. When I got home, I had a stack of business cards that had no meaning. And there was nothing I could really do because I didn't even get to know the people who handed me the card. So I said, I've got to change this. So I figured out a way to do it. I thought about, who am I? So like I said, I'm a sales representative for a large pharmaceutical sales company, and I've had so many years of training. As a matter of fact, 17 years of sales training, in-depth, intense sales training with outstanding results. So what I thought, I said, well, suppose I combined my sales training with networking. so that I can teach people actually how to network. And then I said, well, let's put a little speed networking on it, because we have to use effective words to sell anything. And like I said, go back to the first step, I am. So we have to figure out, like, who are we and what are we doing in the sales process? Like, why I'm even in this? So I figured out a way to combine networking. I put speed networking on it. I put a sales twist to it, and then I came up with something that's quite effective when you use the 5 steps.
I love it. And that really actually takes me back to your self-quote that you have at the beginning of your book. Before you can make a connection with someone else, you will need to make a deep connection with yourself. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. And the reason why I wrote that quote was because in the sales process, I realized that when I first meet someone or when I first network with someone, we don't know each other. And we have so many invisible layers between us. But every time I go back to that person, particularly in the sales process, like for my work, each time I talk to that person, I dissolve this invisible layer between us, because we get to know each other just a little bit more. And then that next touch point, that other layer goes away. Eventually, we start seeing each other. And once we can see each other, and this is just from talking, like touch points, talking, I might talk a little bit about my product, I ask a little bit about that person. But once we start dissolving these invisible walls between us, we start seeing each other, we start hearing each other, we start getting to know each other, and then we start really communicating. And that's when the sales process happens. But before I did that, Sharon, I had to figure out, who am I? How do I want to show up in that environment? When I show up to network, who do I want to be when I'm networking? When I show up for work, who do I want to be when I show up for work? So I felt like I needed to understand, how can I connect with myself so that I can easily connect with others? And that's what this is about. You've got to know who you are before you show up. You just have to know who you are. Yeah, and
I love that.
When I realized who I was, then I showed up in an authentic way, and my customers could really feel me and see me and hear me, and they started buying from me. And from doing that, I mean, I've been the number one salesperson, for a very long time. And I'm not bragging about that. It's just a testimony. It just works. And I feel like I wanted other people in the networking process, like speed networking, I wanted us to be able to show up and just be so real with who we are and how we're speaking, that other people could connect with you immediately or not, because everybody won't connect with you when they see you, but either they connect or they don't. And then from there, you can build that relationship much quicker.
I love it. Wow. So, as I was reading, I think the chapter or in the step that really resonated with me was chapter 6, which is step 4, add value. As a coach, and I go to many workshops and trainings and all of that, and you really have to be particular when you're going to these things, because it can be a waste of time. So this add value chapter and this step was so impactful. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you speak on about adding value?
Yeah, when we talk to people, one thing that I do speak on is, time is a gift. When I sit and talk with you, I'm giving you a gift. And when you sit and talk with me, you're giving me a gift. And that's time, because that's something we can't get back. So I want us to have something meaningful exchange. So when I say add value, I say offer something that will enhance a life. For example, if we're talking about books, I may have an article about books that may interest you, that may add value to you. Or maybe some type of podcast or some statistics or something that anything that I can add value. I think we should always be thinking about, how can I serve this person? How can I help this person along the way? And I feel like that's adding value. I would say that. And I have another area too, where you can add value. I don't know if you're going to touch upon this, but just by talking about someone's business to somebody else is adding value. Just like this podcast, I can tell other people about your podcast. I can tweet about it. I can Facebook about it. I can do lots of things, for this podcast. That's adding value to you because I'm putting your services out there.
I love it. I tell you. And so with speed networking, and you mentioned how you came about really wanting to improve networking, and then you added the speed networking with the sales piece, which is your expertise. What type of events? Because you are the owner of Speed Networking DC, correct?
Yeah, DC Speed Networking. Yes.
DC, right. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, with DC Speed Networking, what I've done, I have events in the DC area or wherever, even in North Carolina, I did an event. But what I do with DC Speed Networking, I bring people together. I may do Eventbrite, or I may email or text you and invite you out and just come to DC Speed Networking. And we actually do DC Speed Networking on the spot. What I like to do before we start the event, I like to teach the 5 steps for DC Speed Networking. I like to teach the 5 steps, and I like to make sure that people are comfortable in what we're about to do. So there are 2 methods for doing the DC Speed Networking. One is I bring you to the microphone. After I do about 10, 15 minutes of teaching, I bring you to the microphone, and I have you go through the 5 steps as it relates to you and your company or your business or your idea, but some people don't have companies yet. Or what we will do also, sometimes the second method that I use is I'll set everybody strategically in the room, and I have us rotate around the room and in a certain time frame so that everybody in that room meets each other and everybody hears about each other's business. But everything is timed out. So you have to be, if you don't have your conciseness and your preciseness down yet, it's opportunity to keep practicing until you get it. So by the time we finish our DC Speed Networking event, people know what other people are doing.
Wow. So talk a little bit about your mindset exercises. I just thought that was so impactful with the comfort zone versus your forward-thinking mindset. The whole workbook part, I think, is like brilliant. The second half of your book is actually exercises that individuals who buy the book can actually go through. That is wonderful. So talk a little bit about the mindset exercise.
Well, the mindset exercise, I was thinking that a lot of us have 2 mindsets. I mean, it's a fixed mindset, and I said that that's a limited self-perception, and a growth mindset, which is an unlimited self-perception. So when you do the traditional networking, we come to the networking event with a comfort zone mindset. We're kind of fixed, we're limited, we're in our comfort zone. We can hand out a card. Hopefully the people, they don't talk too long and we run off to the next person. But in the DC Speed Networking, I want your mindset to be a forward-thinking mindset. So that means that you are going to actually ask good questions. You're going to respect the time that you're given to speak, and you're going to do the 5 steps that allows you to get something going, whether you're going to make a sale with that person, whether you're just going to build a relationship with that person, rapport. But what you have to do is understand that this mindset exercise is to stretch you. You have to be stretched. And in that stretching, of course, that transformation can come about for you. So you'll see that I always say, Sharon, that my life is kind of like a theme of transformation. Remember the movie To Sir with Love?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? To Sir with Love, starring Sidney Poitier. That movie and the song was so transformational for me. And I remember that as a kid. I said, I love this movie. I love this song. What they did was he took those children, well, they were, I think, teenagers at the time. They were wild in the classroom. They just couldn't listen. The teacher transformed those kids into adults, really, before they graduated from high school. And when I was thinking about this book, I said, how can I write a book that's transformational in a way that I can take people from where they are, the simple fixed mindset networker, to the person who is stretching themselves in the networking process and actually getting results. So I did that, and I termed this book as a personal development business book, because you are asked to stretch yourself in the process. And that's what the exercise, the workbook is about, is stretching yourself. And by the time you get through the workbook, I think that, I don't know if you did the workbook or not, Sharon, but I think that you will go from where you were to where you're on your way to becoming if you take time to do the workbook, because it does take. So
absolutely.
That's what the workbook is about, is seeing that transformation happen. And the best transformation of all is getting results when you're out networking. Yeah, that's the best one, because I have had some readers come back and tell me that they've gotten clients from reading my book. They said, I have got more clients from reading the book, from doing the workbook, and using the terminology that I give you, going through the exercises, and they're getting results. So it's worth a try.
That's awesome. So where can the listeners reach out to you? Where can they buy the book? Where can they find your events? Just tell them how they can reach out to you.
Well, the best way to reach out to me is probably on Facebook right now. Facebook, I'm Cy Martin, C-Y, Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N, Cy Martin. And then from there, you can see my business page, DC Speed Networking. It's a business page on Facebook. And also Twitter. I love Twitter. It's I am Cy Martin. And, of course, you can always email me at cynthia@dcspeednetworking.com, the email. Yes. And that's awesome. My events are there, too. My events are usually on Facebook. I make the announcement maybe 2 weeks before the event, and I do have one coming up soon.
Okay, awesome, definitely. So what is one last message you would love to leave with the listeners, those who are contemplating buying speed networking, 5 simple steps to sell your products and services? What message do you want to leave with them?
The message I want to leave with them, I'd say that 90% of your success is marketing you and your business, and marketing usually has an enormous price tag, but networking is free. Networking is free. You have to open up your mouth and let us know who you are, what your business is about. Tell us about your products and services, because when you start talking and you're effective and you're short and quick with what you're saying, I can go out and repeat to anybody what you've told me about your business or yourself, and I can be a walking commercial for you. We can start each other's prosperity cycle by talking about each other's businesses, and we can do it. It's been proven. Commercials did it. All these years, commercials have been doing it. We can do it for ourselves. We can build our own infrastructures as long as we are talking and speaking effectively about what we do and what we need. We can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and the next thing you know, you have more customers and you have more success.
I love it. Cynthia Martin, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed you.
And I have really enjoyed myself, too, and I've enjoyed you. I enjoyed it. So, and one thing I did want to say, the book is available on Amazon.com and on BarnesandNobles.com and some of the Barnes & Noble stores and on my website.
Awesome.
If you want a signed copy, DCSpeedNetworking.com. You buy the book there, and I send a signed copy to you. So
awesome.
I'm available.
Awesome, guys. Please reach out to Miss Cynthia Martin. Again, she is the author of Speed Networking, 5 Simple Steps to Sell Your Products and Services. This has been a wonderful, wonderful episode, and I can't wait to participate in one of the events. So, guys, as always, I remind you, don't wait. Write the book now.
Thank you for joining another episode of Write the Book Now. If you are contemplating writing a book, don't wait. Write the book now with Dr. Sharon. Contact her at info@writethebooknow.com. Also, take a moment to follow us on social media at Write the Book Now.